my name is Mark Cote, and my entry to the MintChip Challenge is called tipjar. Tipjar is a system that facilitates donations, or tips, to website creators and authors. It is designed with simplicity as the central goal. Tipjar is extremely easy to add to a website. It makes it simple for a visitor to leave a tip, and it makes it simple for the website owner to later collect the tip. The rationale behind this simplicity is to encourage visitors to give small donations to websites. Every day, Internet users collectively access millions upon millions of web pages, blogs, and applications. The simplicity of tipjar encourages donations through a straightforward, simple UI. A good analogy is of a street performer. A street performer makes money because even though a passerby may only be listening to the performance for a minute or two, it's extremely easy for the passerby to reach into a pocket, grab some change, and leave it in a guitar case. If it were more involved, like writing a check or doing an Interact transaction, the amount of money that a performer would get would be drastically lower. Similarly, even though there are lots of useful websites out there, there's no simple way to leave a tip or donation to thank the person for the time they spent putting up this information or application. The closest thing would be donation through intermediary services, which usually require a credit card and an involved login procedure that distracts the user from what they were doing. With tipjar, tips are immediately debited from the visitor's physical mint chip and sent to a central broker. The website's owner can later retrieve the tip from the broker and deposit it directly to a physical mint chip connected to their computer. To add tipjar to your website so that you can collect tips, you'll first have to register with the tipjar broker. In your browser, go to https://mrcote.info/broker. You'll have to confirm a security exception, since I don't have a proper SSL certificate given that this is only a prototype. This is the main tipjar broker login. You'll see some information on tipjar on the left. And on the right, a login and a new user form. The new user form, you just enter an email address and a password, and then log in using that account. This is the main broker page. The broker is an extremely important part of the tipjar system. Without the broker, you would have to have a physical mint chip or a remote mint chip certificate installed on the physical server where your website lives. Most people don't have access to this server or even know where it is or how it would work. The tipjar system instead allows you to just add a simple JavaScript script file that will forward your tips to this broker so that you can collect them later. This allows you to deposit your tips directly from the broker onto a physical mint chip connected to your system. Remote mint chips aren't supported at the moment, but it would be easy to add them to this system. The first thing you'll want to do is register your MintChip ID. This is important so that the system knows which users are associated with which MintChip IDs, so that when you log in, your tips are visible. With your MintChip installed and the browser plugin installed, click on Add MintChip. You'll see up in the corner here your MintChip ID of your physically connected MintChip. If it says not found, it means you either don't have your browser plugin installed or you don't have a MintChip connected to your system. So you can see right now my MintChip is connected. This table here will display any MintChips that you have registered right now. You can register more than one MintChip in case you administer several websites and want to split the tips between different MintChips. For now, we'll just add one. The MintChip is automatically added to this table here. If you've added the wrong one, you can always delete it with this X button here. So now we have our MintChip registered. The easiest way to see tipjar in action is just to use a simple HTML file on your local computer. Normally you would of course use this on the World Wide Web, but for demo purposes we'll just use a local file. There's an example file provided linked to in the help here. This help is about the broker application in general. This paragraph here is about how to configure your web page to use the tipjar system. And here is an example link. If we open it in a new page, you'll see it's just a fake site, lorem ipsum text, and a button that allows visitors to leave a tip. If you click it, you'll see the tipjar dialog here, which I'll explain a little bit more later. But the example is not set up with any particular MintChip, so you'll need to configure it to use your MintChip. So if we save this example file to our desktop, and then edit it in something like Notepad++, here's the example page. As you can see, it's extremely simple. Down here is just the boring content. This is the tip button image that's used as a link for visitors to leave you a tip. In this case, we're using the official tipjar icon, which you can use in your websites, or you can use any icon or any element, really. The tipjar script will turn it into a link to the tipjar system. You'll need to have jQuery added to your site and jQuery UI if you don't already. It's extremely simple, just a couple of script lines here to include jQuery and jQuery UI, plus a CSS style sheet with a jQuery theme. In this case, we're just using lightness. This will control what the tip dialog looks like. To add tipjar, it's extremely simple. You add one script line here to include the tipjar script. It's all in one file. And then you add a very simple script element that will initialize the system. We use the document ready to wait until it's loaded. And then this is the line that actually initializes the tipjar system to allow visitors to leave tips. It's a one function call. The first parameter is just a jQuery selector for your tipjar button. In this case, you can see the tip button ID. The second parameter is your MintChip ID. This is a public ID. There's no restrictions in giving it out. In fact, you need to make any sort of transaction. So in this case, we will change the placeholder text here to our MintChip ID. And then the third parameter is a suggested tip amount. Currently, the default is 5 cents. We could change it, say, to 15 cents if we wanted to. A user is free to leave any amount they want, but this is the amount that populates the amount field. So it's a good idea to use something reasonable, because if it's reasonable, the user will just click OK without having to edit anything, and the less that they have to type or edit, the more likely you are to receive a tip. Remember the busker analogy. They just you reach into your pocket, you feel a few coins, and that's what you leave as a tip. So we'll save this file now. And then we'll load our new example file. Here it is, looks the same as before. But now if we click on the tipjar button, we'll see that the default is 15 cents. Now, because I'm only using one computer for this demo, I'll have to switch out the MintChip that's currently connected with another one so that I can leave a tip for the first chip. So in order to do that, I'll first have to close the browser to unload the plugin. Eject the MintChip. Swap it out with our other MintChip. And load our browser again. We'll go directly to our tip page here. So, the visitor, has decided that they like the information on this site and they want to leave this person a little tip. So they click the tip jar icon. They'll decide that 15 cents seems reasonable. And you can optionally leave a comment, such as, "Thanks." Click OK. This indicates that the tip has been deducted from the physically connected MintChip and sent over to the broker. Now we'll need to swap the chip out again in order to receive the tip. So at this point, the value message has been created, and then through an AJAX call has been sent to our broker application. The broker application just stores the value message and doesn't do anything with it. the broker application has to be trusted in that it knows the login associated with the MintChip ID, so there is some personal information there. But the value message is completely secure and cannot be deposited by anyone other than the recipient, so you don't have to worry about someone stealing the funds. So we'll unload the plugin again, eject it, switch back to our previous MintChip, and go back to the broker. Since we didn't log out before, it logs us back in automatically. You can see our MintChip here. And in the new tip table, you'll see the information about the tip that was just sent, the date and time at which the tip was sent, the destination MintChip ID, again in case you've registered more than one MintChip ID, the amount in dollars that was left, 15 cents, and a comment if one was provided. The $ button here is what allows us to actually deposit this tip. We click it, successfully deposited 15 cents from our tipper to our tippee. And at this point, the deposited tips table shows the tip we just received. There's no actions you can take here. This is just for historical purposes in case you want to see how popular your website is. And the new tip table has been cleared. And if we want to verify that this is the case, we can go to our sample application that comes with the plugin, MintChip Control. And if we read the credits, we'll see at the top here, 15 cents left just now. 15 cents received. And that's all there is to it. So to recap, tipjar is a system that allows visitors to your website to express their appreciation by sending you a tip deducted directly from their physical MintChip. It's extremely easy to set up. All that it requires is jQuery, jQuery UI, a single tipjar script, and a single function call to initialize the control. And tips are sent to a central broker, where they wait for you to log in and deposit them directly to your MintChip. In addition, tipjar is completely open source. The source is available on GitHub under github.com/markarcote/tipjar. It's released under the MIT license, so it's completely free for you to use, adapt to your needs, fork, study, and do whatever you want with it. Feel free to send me your thoughts and ideas about tipjar. I'd love to hear them. Thanks.